Well, good morning everybody. Welcome to another one of my silly editions of Shed World. As you can see, today I'm actually out of the armchair. And what I thought we could possibly do today is have just a quick look at some of the birdhouses that I make. Here's one that I've finished. Now this is just a basic bird nesting box, engraved on the top, as you can see, with my trademark acorn. As you can see from this side view, it's made from pretty substantial timber that's been air dried, and I've just given the lid a quick coat of preservative water-based paint, which is not harmful to birds in any way. I don't paint the rest of the wood because it's pressure treated and it has a natural preservative in it, and will weather down to a very nice sort of silvery colour, which goes very well on sort of most fences, etc. The top does come under a bit of hammering from sun and rain, so it's probably just as well just to add that little bit of extra protection. The size of the entrance hole is quite critical. This particular one is set to 33 mils, and that will attract most garden birds, including hedge sparrows, but will put off blue tits and coal tits as they prefer a smaller hole, which is 25 mils, and I also sort of make those as specialist boxes, along with robin boxes, which are sort of completely different, and I'll be showing that maybe a bit later on. Quite an important feature with these boxes, the RSPB, who I make all my boxes to their recommendations, have put out this season a strong recommendation that these are 4 mil drainage holes are drilled in this sort of pattern on the base to allow moisture to drop out. Personally, I think it's a bit belt and braces when you think about it. Normally birds nest in an open sort of tree area, but still I like to stick very much to their recommendations on sizes and things like drainage. You can see there's a countersink screw hole. Now I use a brass type of non-rusting screw, and this is the only area that isn't pinned and glued. And this is purely so that you can take the bottom off easily to clean out at the end of the season, because birds like clean little homes like everybody else, and obviously in a tree the nest would fall off and disperse, but in a box it's just going to lay there. So if you don't clean them out once a year, then obviously you're unlikely to get birds coming back the following year. So just very briefly, the construction. This are the blanks that I've cut out to size on my table saw, and I've already on the front roof there just roughed out the acorn, and you can see the drain holes are already pre-drilled into the base. Now, I hope this shows up. This is just some shots of the interior, the wood that's been prepared. Now obviously I've sanded off the really big rough splinters, etc., but in doing so it makes rather a smooth surface, so the RSPB do recommend that we then score the wood, and they call it a ladder, but I mean, well, you can see a little coal tit or something would be able to grip on that and just propel itself up and out of the hole. So you have to create these little internal ladders to allow them to get out. Now, looking at the front of this one, this is actually a 25 mil, which is going to be very suitable for the most popular sort of birdhouse, for blue tits, coal tits, even great tits have used these holes, although a great tit is more likely to look at the slightly smaller hole, slightly bigger hole that we looked at first. Now, one of the things that when I sell these, a lot of people say, where's the little perch that goes under the hole? I don't put those on now. Used to, basically because people demanded them. But unfortunately, it's now been recommended by the RSPB that you don't put any sort of perch on the front, because, I hate to say it, the old magpie is voracious, and he will grab little birds. And what you don't want in the natural circumstance, when the fledglings are chucked out the nest and they fly off, the first thing they do is they fly straight away to a branch somewhere and sit and hide away from predator birds, cats, etc. So even squirrels have been known to sit on the roof of bird boxes and wait for the little birds to come out. So in their interest, you don't have on proper bird houses, bird boxes, little perches on the front. Construction, well, it isn't rocket science, thank God, or I wouldn't be doing it. As you can see, the pre-cut pieces go together, a bit like an assembly kit, I suppose. The essential construction method is gluing and pinning. If you use a proprietary wood adhesive that is weatherproof, that will stand up to the weather, a bit expensive, and you do tend to splash it about a bit, as they say, but it is essential. It does two things. One is it obviously holds the joint together, but it also makes a bond which does prevent damp seeping completely through. I used to tack all these together by hand, but I have to confess, my very kind daughter and son-in-law gave me this small tack gun. I believe it's called a brad nailer. It's very efficient, and I use a 400mm, which is just over 2 inches brad, which really adds good security, basically to hold the whole thing tight and square while the glue does its work. I mean, it is the glue that gives the whole birdhouse its strength. So here's the birdhouse. Now this is just dry assembled, just to demonstrate that it does actually all go together, a bit like a construction kit. Now you will notice that at the joints of the roof, etc., these are a little bit open. Now I will probably improve that with a little bit of sanding, just to make sure that it's a bit flusher. And as Delia would say, here's one that I have already prepared. But you will probably notice there are still some very small gaps. Well, the glue will have compensated for that, although you're seeing the gaps on the outside, they are actually sealed. But realistically, you also do have to allow for the fact that some circulation of air has to get in, otherwise damp and mould would possibly form. And let's face it, the birds are used to nesting in the middle of a bush or a tree, so open air and air circulation is also important. And I suppose that also is another benefit of the drainage holes, that as the air warms up, it will naturally move out through the exit hole and pull fresh air in from the bottom, so it does actually sort of create a through draft.